So tonight is the book launch for Brad's new book, Hunter Killer, and somewhere, I don't know where we put them. We have chocolate, as promised. Where is it? Back there somewhere. All right, well, anyway, we have chocolate cake. I was going to get you a cupcake, but I decided A, it wasn't your image, and B, it's really hard for the author to eat a cupcake with frosting and talk to you simultaneously. So. But it's cute to put a candle in it and, pretend it's all good. So, anyway, welcome.
Thank you. She's talking about the author jacket. People see this in jacket and they say, do you ever wear anything else? And I'm like, this comes out once a year.
I have a Christmas purse. Some of you have seen it. This is a fabulous purse I've had for 30 years, and I only carry it in December, which is why I still have it. So I more than understand your author jacket.
Well, it got to be kind of a joke now. I'm like, no, I'm not changing jackets ever. In fact, I just had this one refurbished, which I did it myself with shoe polish.
That's that military training, right?
Yeah,
You have
it
to
worked out.
step up. When he came in, he said, I'm wearing and I thought he said officer jacket. So I'm thinking, this is how they rolled, right? And Delta Force, Lieutenant Colonels wear the bars and all that good stuff.
Oh, we bought this a long time ago, and now it's like kind of tradition. I swear.
Do you still have your uniform and medals and all that stuff?
Oh yeah, actually, we were just cleaning the closet out. There was a question for my daughter, and which is kind of a funny story. I used to wear civilian clothes into work and put the uniform on to do my work, and wear civilian clothes home. And so when I went to teach at the Citadel, I actually had to wear a uniform. And I got to take her to school for the very first time. Never got to do that. And she said, "Why are you wearing a costume?" I was like, I'm in the military, right?
She probably thought it was Halloween. Right? So, what occasions would you still wear it?
I don't. I guess I could wear it anytime, but I was the keynote speaker for the Infantry Officer Advanced Course, and I wore a coat and tie to that. I just said, I don't feel comfortable wearing a uniform.
So if you ever went to like a colleague's funeral or something, would that be an occasion? I'm just
Well,
curious.
probably it'll be my daughter's marriage. I'll probably wear a thing.
Ooh,
That'll probably be the only time.
wonderful. Do you have a date? Or are you just
No.
guessing?
I date the same guy forever, so we'll see.
So maybe never.
Yeah.
Right. So we've been doing this together for the whole course of your authorial career.
14th tour.
It's amazing, isn't it? But if you, yes.
Nobody's more surprised than me.
But if you recall, Brad was writing 2 books a year
Yeah.
for a while, so it hasn't been 14 years. It's
No,
been,
no.
How many years has it been now? 8?
First book came out in 2011, so yes, 8 years.
No, 12. 9. Sorry,
Yeah.
it is 2020. Right. So you've always come out in January, if I recall.
Right, and except the 2 books a year was January and July.
Right. So isn't it great we get to kick off the new year with Brad? Right, and then he's got guys out that save the world, which God knows we need. So, seriously need. Is it scary to write your books and realize how close to real life they verge?
No, not really, because most of I do a ton of research for every book, and there's just news stories that are all over the world that don't make the American news feed, but they make the news somewhere else. Brazil's one of them. The car wash scandal, which is in the book, is the largest political scandal really in the history of a sovereign state, and it kind of made a blip in the United States, but down in Brazil and all over South America, it was enormously big. So when you write about it, and then you see a story about the car wash scandal, like, well, Brad's predicting the future. It's like, no, it's kind of other parts of the world really know about it. So like when I write about Boko Haram, when I wrote about that, and then they kidnapped all the girls, it was like, oh, Brad's predicting the future. No, really, they've been lopping heads off since 2009. It's just we don't hear about the United States because it doesn't affect the United States interests.
I thought it was interesting when I read the book that most thrillers ignore South America. We're focused on the European or the Mid-East or Asian theaters, and it's fairly rare that we go down to what you're writing about, which is that triangle.
Yeah, actually what the book came out of, this is the only book I've written that came out of another book. So in Daughter of War, and I learned early on, don't ask anybody, who's read that book? Everybody? Okay, let me talk about that book. So in Daughter of War, I had a tangential antagonist, which was Wagner, which is a Russian private military company. which is a real thing. They exist. They're out there killing people. They're in Libya right now. Turkey's going to Libya to fight them. They took over the Crimea Peninsula. They were in Ukraine. They're all over Syria. And because they were in that book, I did a lot of research on them. And so every morning I get up and I have feeds that come into my computer, and I read about stuff all over the world. And I still had tags for Wagner. And one of the stories that came up was Maduro down in Venezuela was about to fall apart. Had everybody in there protesting, and we backed him for about a month, and then we quit. But they sent in a company of Wagner into Venezuela to protect Maduro. And I was like, well, that's kind of interesting. So I started doing research on the geopolitics down there, and Russia really wants to get into our near abroad. That's what they want to do. They have a strategy document called the near abroad, because we're in their near abroad. So they had the ring states in the Soviet Union, the USSR, which protected them. Then that fell, and we slowly but surely encroached on the Russian Federation. You want to join NATO? Come on in, you join NATO. You want to join NATO? Come on in and join NATO. Montenegro just joined NATO. As a matter of fact, Wagner was in Montenegro, tried to do a coup and to overthrow the government so they wouldn't vote to join NATO. And so they said, we want to get into the United States near abroad. Now, the obvious biggest time that's happened is the Cuban Missile Crisis. They're like, we've got missiles in Europe, let's put some missiles in their backyard. But they've been trying to do it in South America and Central America for a long time. Venezuela's easy, Cuba's easy, but they're really trying to do it just to gain influence in what they call our near abroad. And the more I read it, the more I was like, hey, there's a story here. So that's kind of where it came out.
And amazingly, there was.
Yes.
Here it is, under Hillary. So did you travel down there in order to get sort of boots on the ground and eyes on the ground?
Yeah, so this is one of the few countries that I could actually go everywhere. I mean, if I can get on the ground and do the research on the ground, I'll do it. For Daughter War, I didn't go to Korea or North Korea and Syria, but most of it was in Europe, so I could do that. But Brazil, yeah, I can do that. And I'm geographically challenged. I had no idea how big that country was.
It's huge.
It's
Right.
enormous. So I'm like, we'll go here, 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 here. And we started doing the math, and Elaine's the one who plans the trip. We had like 14-hour travel days. And I'm just like, this place is huge. So well, we did everything that's in that book. Every bit of it, I set foot on. And a lot of it is that there's things that I'm looking for when I go down there. I'm going to go here, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go here. But there's always something that I'm not looking for that finds me. And there's also some retribution I can get. So we're going down there, and Elaine, since we're going to Brazil, we have to go to the Amazon, which is not going to factor into the book. There's no way I can have the Amazon factor in the book. But
Can't weaponize piranha or anything fun?
that's it. Oh yeah, I could do that now. When I went down there, I said, it's true, I probably won't ever go back to Brazil. So I guess we should go to the Amazon. And they had the seaplane that lands out in the middle of the Amazon, right on the river where the lodge is. And our travel agent had said that it's a $700 ticket, $7 a person to go down there. I'm like, oh, I'm paying $700. We'll take the van. And so the van was this 4-hour hell trip, bouncing up and down these rutted roads. By the time we got there, I was like, that's a $700 ticket back. I'm not so sure it's a bad idea. And so we went and talked to the lady at the lodge that runs where the plane lands, and it turns out it wasn't $7 a ticket, it was $700 for the plane. And it had 8 seats, so if you get 8 people in there, it's like $90 a ticket. Hell yeah, I'll get that thing. I want to get on that thing. And the election was going on. And so they said, yes, you're on. You're going to go back on the aircraft and all that. And then one of the candidates of doing the election in Brazil had basically taken the plane, which aggravated me to no end. And so I said, the Amazons made the book, and I'm blowing that plane up. That's what I did.
Revenge thriller, right? Right. Well, I'm going to talk to you later next time you go to it never pays not to go first class, and it just doesn't.
We had it was a 4-hour van ride back to the airport, and then a 9-hour flight back to Sao Paulo, and then we were trying to get to Salvador. Nothing was easy, and that was just, by the end of it, I was like, I'm blowing that plane up.
So what were the other 2 countries in this triangle?
Paraguay and Argentina. Paraguay, well, they don't go, the task force works for, they can only target sub-state terrorist groups because I created them, and now I've made this rule. When you start writing your first book, it's wide open. You can do whatever you want to. Once you say somebody's got blue eyes, he's got blue eyes forever. Well, I made this rule, they only target foreign terrorist organizations designated by the State Department. That's their charter. So now I got to figure out, okay, we're going to attack the Russians. How can I get them in there? This state on state can't do that. The tri-border region down there is full of Hezbollah activity. It literally is. It's Hezbollah running them up down there, and they're running drugs, and they're not doing any attacks. They're just getting money down there. So we have a vested interest in the tri-border region. And so I found a UNESCO heritage site right next to the tri-border region, and that was basically just the way to get them down there before they run into the Russians and the whole thing goes a different direction.
So is Brazil, Paraguay, is it Bolivia?
What is it?
Uruguay?
Argentina.
No.
I was going to say Argentina, but it doesn't
I
seem
know.
right.
The tri-border is Argentina.
Is it Paraguay, Argentina, and Brazil?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I can't remember.
Well, that's was my story. I'm so happy. Because I was going to tell you, because it was so much fun. The last time I went to Peru, which is the fourth time I went to Peru, probably the last time I went to Peru, but I love Peru. My daughter and I, because it was her trip, we went down to Lake Titicaca, and Bolivia is right over the border and shares part of Lake Titicaca. This is Brad Taylor moment. So I was all fine with it, and we arranged to go and spend a day in Bolivia, and then we discovered that you had to spend $400 a person for a visa to spend a day in Bolivia.
Wow.
And I thought that $800 for a few hours in Bolivia was just a little too much. And so I called and
You blew up
canceled.
the embassy.
No. Look, I called and I was very nice. And I called, I actually had to get somebody else to call. But my message was, thank you, but we were going to cancel because we thought that the visa was a little too much. So we went to bed thinking we'll have a nice quiet day at the lake. We got up and went downstairs, guys in the lobby. And I said, well, I thought we canceled. He said, no fears. They smuggled us into Bolivia. I'm serious. My daughter and I are wrapped up in stuff, and they drive down to the border, and he kind of moves us this way, and he goes over here. He smuggled us in for the day and smuggled us back out again. It was so much fun. That's the closest I've come to a secret out.
I actually had trouble getting a visa to Brazil.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they did a
Chile
background check
is
on me.
even harder. Chile is
Well,
one
my
of the
wife,
most difficult
you can do it
visas.
online. My wife got her visa in a day. And mine took about a month, maybe. Was she in here? We kept having to send new information back. I'm like, what they do?
Well, but some visas are real visas, like Russia. You have to know who was your teacher in 5th grade to
Well,
get
yeah.
a visa. I
Well,
mean,
some of them-
seriously, a Russian visa is a nightmare to get. But
You actually have to have a sponsor, too. Somebody
Yeah.
says, I'm
You do.
asking this guy to come.
Dana and I just went to Egypt, and one of the requirements is you have a visa. So we said, okay, and they said you can get it at the airport.
Yes.
So our escort met us at the gate when we got off the plane. You have a visa? He said no, and he had stick-on visas with him. It was hilarious. He pulled out this thing and he went,
Yeah, you pay. There's a few countries. Dubai's another one. You just go into the airport and send you a visa.
Turkey is like that too, in Istanbul. It's just a money racket. But
Yeah.
some of them are really serious about it for security.
Yeah, I
Alright.
couldn't get into Bulgaria. No, I got into Bulgaria. I can't remember where it was, but they were.
I thought Bulgaria was easy.
Yeah, actually, I came in from Turkey, so it was. I don't even think they knew who we were. It was a bus load of Turkish people.
Well, let's give up foreign travel and go back to your book. So it starts out actually in Charleston, amazingly.
Yes.
Charleston's out. Why would you be writing about Charleston, South Carolina?
Because it's the promised land.
Because you live there, right?
Right. That's where Pike's based. So that's where he's
I
at.
know. Wasn't that clever that you put him in Charleston so you didn't have to do any research?
Yeah, actually, it's really
Just
good.
drive
'cause
around town?
We had exit fee out here, but short story, it was like, I'm going to base this in Charleston because I can run around all over Charleston and figure this out. So, yeah, they can get on the ground right there and see it all.
So it's actually a very sad beginning, and since it happens right up front, we can
Yeah.
actually talk about it. I didn't like it.
I guarantee I'm going to get some hate mail.
I like what I didn't like who it happened to. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
But you had to have a real loss, didn't you, in order to
Yeah.
drive the book?
And I tore back and forth with that, how to do this, because I wanted, you kind of got a stable of people. I'm like, it's going to sound cold-blooded. Who's the guy I can kill at least effect? Me. 'Cause I'm not going to kill Jennifer. I'm not going to kill Knuckles. So I was like, okay. And it's got the most effect on Pike.
Right.
And so that's what I picked. I thought it was great.
Right, so the explosion and the consequences of it are what touch off this whole thing, right?
Yeah, because like I said, he's not allowed to target state systems, but he realizes that there's some Russians that did this. At least he believes it is. And that was another thing I had to figure out. Okay, you know, you can't have him stumble over a Russian passport and pick it up. Oh, look, they left it behind. Here's the bad guy. So I got to figure out how I'm going to do that. And I have actually my cousin's wife works for a company called Holy Spokes, which is a bike rental agency, which is what you see in New York and in DC, and it's called Holy Spokes in Charleston, but it's the same bike stuff. And so I said, hey, how's that bike work? And she showed me the app and everything, and you use your credit card, ties into the bike. The bike's got a GPS. When you use it, it knows who has the bike, and it knows where it's going and everything like that, because they don't want you to steal the bike. And I immediately thought, there's a way to find out who these guys are. So they use the bike, you find that. Now I got to get into his hotel room. And once again, I didn't want to just crack the room and place some kind of bugs in there or something. And so the hotel room, the restoration, which is in Charleston, we've been in, and they have Alexa devices in every room.
Oh, yeah.
And as it turns out, you can hack those things pretty easily. And it all came out from a story I read that the police had actually subpoenaed Amazon and said, hey, this guy got murdered in his house. We think that device heard it, and we want the data from that device.
Actually, there's an article in today or yesterday's Wall Street Journal to that effect. Did some of you see it, that the Alexa is actually recording everything?
Right.
Once you do it, it records everything.
Right. And so I saw that
So
story
that's
and
a
said,
perfectly plausible idea.
well, I know it's real because I did the research on how to hack the thing, and there's several different ways to hack it. One of the most unique ones I heard was, which wouldn't work in a hotel, but it was kind of unique, is that to turn the device on, you say, hey, Alexa, and it wakes up or whatever. But the device can hear like a dog. It hears frequencies outside human hearing. So this guy invented a hey, Alexa that you couldn't hear, but the device could, like a dog whistle. And it would say, hey, Alexa, it would turn on, and then you control the device. That wouldn't work in a hotel. The other one I found was you had to get your hands on the device, and you could manipulate the electronics in it, and then you could control the device and leave again. Which didn't really work, because if you're going to break in a hotel room and do that, then why would you need to do that? Just put the bugs in. Well, then it turned out that every Alexa in your house talks to each other if they're on the same Wi-Fi. So if you got one in the bedroom, one in the kitchen, one in the den, they're all talking to each other. Well, guess what? If you got one in every hotel room, they're all talking to each other. So now I don't have to break into his hotel room. I just got to rent my own room. And I manipulate the Alexa in my room, and now I can talk to his Alexa and record everything that happens in the room.
That's like totally different than putting the glass up against the wall and going like
Right.
that. Boy, that old school technology is really good.
Well, Internet of Things is it's tons of things you can do with Internet of Things. So I saw that, and that's what I ended up using when I saw the Alexa device. We were in Australia on the last research trip from Nextbook, and they had a device in there, and we were in there talking blah blah blah, and it said the weather is, and I was like, turn that damn thing on. So I went and unplugged it. I'm like, I don't want that thing on in my room. Because I know it can happen. Somebody can listen to me right now.
So how much did your military training train your mind to think about stuff like breaking in and planting bugs and?
A whole lot, actually. I mean, you're always trying to solve problems that way. You're always trying to find a way to do things that's not cracking through the front door. If you do it the easy way, and it takes a little more time, you do that. You never want to do something full on where you're going to get confronted with a threat. So, yeah, we used to try all kinds of stuff. I mean, we had some ridiculous things. I remember one time in Iraq we had this, an agency, I can't say, he said we've got this device that can track you anywhere you go. And he showed it to us about that big, satellite reading, blah, blah, blah. Well, I learned a valuable lesson. You know, the biggest problem with miniaturization, what do you think the biggest problem with miniaturization is? Battery. That's exactly right. So they came in here and said, well, put it in his belt. They have a source we're going to send in. He's going to catch bad guy X, and he's going to put it in the belt, and he'll just walk in there. When they brought the belt out, it looked like a dive belt. It had all these battery packs all over it. What the hell good is that? He's not going to walk in with that. It sounds like I'm around using your beacon, sorry.
I understand that one of the things that technology is working on the hardest is a much longer life battery for these very reasons.
Yeah, actually, believe it or not, the S&T division of DS&T, Director of Science and Technology, CIA, they've invented all the batteries we use for that very reason. Because when they're putting a bug inside a leg that's going in an embassy, the battery's got to last a little bit of time. And so they spend an enormous amount of time trying to refine battery technology. Lithium ion was invented by them. Now your
Oh.
cell phones are running off that.
Who knew? Didn't the military actually invent the internet in the first place? Wasn't it?
DARPA did, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
They're responsible for this
Yeah.
influx of. Well, the reason I asked him that, we talked to lots of military fiction writers, and some of them have surfed, like Brad, or like Jack Carr, who's coming to see us. But others have to actually like make it up or consult experts, so I didn't know if that gave you an edge.
Yeah, well, it gives me an edge two ways. Number one, I know who the experts are. I don't have to fish around.
Right.
I can go straight to the guy
Sure.
that does this stuff. But number two, yeah, you just get kind of a mindset of doing that kind of thing. So when I'm planning an assault on a room or whatever, the good thing about fiction is I can make it up. So I'll find this room right here and say, okay, here's how I'd assault this room. Oh, that didn't really work, so I want that guy to get killed over here. Okay, there's a wall there. I mean, in real life, you don't get that. You have to plan the assault. You get what you get. So I can plan the assault with what I have, and then say, well, I'll put a wall there and it'll work out. Do the assault.
So, which is harder for you, writing that kind of thing or writing the relationships? Because your books have to have both, and
yeah.
they do have both in a very great degree.
I don't think that it's not, neither one are hard. I actually like both of them. I actually probably like writing relationships. Writing the assault stuff is fun. It's kind of easy, but you really gotta make the pace keep going. You don't want to bury people in, minutia of what's going on. But on the other hand, you don't want to lose the reader. That's probably the hardest part about writing a assault scene. Is you want it to go. You want the person reading it, whatever the POV is, the guy talking. You want him to be what is being witnessed. So if there's a car scene where I'm driving a car off the road, I want the reader to be in the car, not on the side of the road watching the action happen. You're in the car. That's what's happening. And so there's only so many things. In any given assault, whenever you assault anything, there's only so much that you see. Literally. You can get back and talk to everybody that just was on that assault, and they'll all have something different. So I don't try to focus on the entire holistic thing. If it's Pike doing it, it's what's Pike seeing. If it's Knuckles doing it, he's going to see what he says. And sometimes I have to split it up because they've got to have two different things going on. But usually it's separated by rooms or floors or something like that.
You couldn't really write this kind of a book with just one point of view. It would be very difficult.
No, and that's the reason I actually went to first person, third person. And
Right. And have a team. And most military fiction has a team, not just a protagonist. It's not
Yeah.
Spencer. It's going to be,
Right.
the task
Well,
force or something.
I think that mine are actually much more team oriented than most. Most will have ancillary elements, but mine, for instance, this one, Knuckles and Brett are on that ferry, and that's a huge part of the book.
I said that having just watched the preview for the new James Bond book, and I'm thinking, wow, that's a really stupid thing for me to have said. James Bond didn't understand teamwork.
No. Mitch Rapp was pretty much on his own. He had the Orion team, but let's face it, it was Mitch Rapp going around and slaughtering everybody.
Right. But on the other hand, James Bond's 50 years now, so times have changed somewhat.
Yeah, let's see. Pike's never aging either. I learned that lesson.
Good thinking.
He's never getting old. Everybody else will go old around him.
If you do age him, then there's a point at which all that stuff becomes unbelievable because he's going to
Well,
get
actually, I
arthritis in his knee or a bad hip or
well,
something.
I started doing that because I was like, I'm only going to have 2 books published, so let's talk about that. And I'm like, you don't want a third one? All right, he's not getting any. Because I talked to Robert Crace about it. His original Elvis Cole guy was a Vietnam veteran.
Right.
And now he'd be running around in a wheelchair.
Right.
And so I said,
was a Korea War veteran.
Same clock, right?
Yeah.
right. So I said, well, how do you handle that? And he said, I just made a decision. He's like Superman, never ages. I was like, and people buy that? So far. I'm like, that's all right, that's what I'm doing.
I think it's true. That's something that can be a problem. Putting actual money, sums of money can really date a book. Somebody, years ago, I was writing to an author who was writing golf mysteries, and he had, a long time ago, he had a purse, for like the Scottish Open or something, and the amount, which was ludicrous, in the context of a more contemporary reader. So, it's a wonderful idea to be vague about money, so you don't date it that way as well as
Well,
age.
exactly. And so Robert Crace told me a story. His biggest thing was Elvis always used a payphone, and then payphones just kind of disappeared.
Yeah, right.
He's like, all right, can you do that?
Same bet too.
Yeah. What was that marvelous heist movie? Remember where they all had to be in a payphone booth at the same time to get a cue? I'm trying to remember the name. It was famous, but it was a really great movie. Well, we watched it not too long ago. It's hilarious today. I mean, you think that, and of course, naturally,
Yeah.
there was somebody in one of the booths making a call, which held up the entire thing.
I actually, speaking of payphones, it's almost like you segued into that. There are payphones all over Brazil.
Yeah.
And I asked, do these things work? I mean, they got graffiti all over them, and they're just nasty looking. You think what it is. And the guy said, yeah, they do. Everybody gets issued a card. It's free. If you apply for it, you can get a free card from the Brazilian government. And you just brought this up, and I completely forgot about that. I was going to use that in the book, and I didn't.
Wow. I'm sorry. That would have been, well, maybe you can just pretend that happened.
Well, they were on every
Some
street
other
corner.
country.
I mean, you don't see payphones anywhere around here anymore, but every street corner had these payphones with this little overarch hanging thing. And I thought that it was just a relic and nobody cleaned up. And I said, no, they still use it. I was saying there's certain things, this is kind of a growth story, but it kind of pans out. So if I get on the ground, I can figure out what the culture's like. There's things that I'm going to see there that you just don't see by looking at Google pictures. And come to find out, we went down there, and none of the public restrooms and a lot of the high-end hotels, you can't put the toilet paper in the toilet.
No, because their plumbing system.
The plumbing system was
just
that.
like that. Trust me,
Well, I hadn't done it since I was in Saddam Hussein's palace. I mean, but this was like, everywhere I go, I got to do this big sign on there. And it was just, it's
They
kind
have
of
a
like,
little wastebasket by every.
yeah, like, how much am I paying for this hotel room? I got to put my toilet paper in the trash? Right. And so I had to have a scene where this guy was going to get compromised, a Russian guy. He's going to get compromised in a hotel room. And it's be easy to break into a room. You wait till the maid cleans a room, and you got all the time in the world. But they come in 6 times a day to clean out the toilet paper. And so that's how I did it. I would never known that if I had been down there. You know how many times I sit in a hotel room like, you're back again? Yeah, did you poop? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and get it.
This is why you came tonight, right?
So that's what I am using in the book.
However, I can tell that story because the first time I went to Peru, I can't remember, we were near some public market, and I thought it would be a really good idea for me to find the bathroom. I had to actually use my hip to kick a llama out of the way. It was just like a hole in the ground. Seriously,
Yeah.
sanitation has not progressed as one might.
I was kind of surprised. I mean, I understand if I'm in a dive bar doing research and I don't put it in the toilet, but I'm paying how much for this hotel room?
So,
expensive?
aside from all that, what else can we say about the book? We know it starts dramatically and tragically, and then they travel.
Yeah, well, I think there actually was a component of the book. You're writing it a year ago, and there was a lot of special operations guys that were being accused of war crimes, and not only war crimes, they're being accused of all kinds of stuff. They're getting kicked out of Iraq for rape, and there was 2 Marines and a SEAL that killed a special forces guy in Mali, just going on and crazy. And everybody was screaming about how they're getting railroaded and this isn't fair, and they're tip of the spear, and that actually kind of aggravated me. I got sick of hearing it because that's not true. There is what we have to do. And so there's a lot of the moral dimension that Pike goes through is, what's the difference between murder and combat? Where do I go? Because he wants retribution, but he also needs information. So he's going to capture this guy, and then what's he going to do? You kill a guy after you capture him, that's murder, it's not combat. Somebody shooting at you, okay, I got that. And you see it to this day. There's 2 schools of thought on philosophical school of thought. There's Immanuel Kant has what he calls a categorical imperative, which is an act is moral or immoral based on the act itself. That's it. 10 commandments are categorical imperatives. Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill. The service academies cannot not tolerate someone who lies, cheats, or steals. That's categorical imperative. John Stuart Mills has what he called utilitarianism, which is, we know, it's a greater good. So it's not the act itself that's immoral or moral, it's the outcome of the act. So you could steal if you're going to feed a family that's about to starve to death. There's a greater good there. And you see that in national security affairs all the time. Soleimani, we just whacked. One side is, yeah, I get he's a devil, but there's no way in the world we should have killed him. It's just not something we do. It's categorical imperative. The other side says, yeah, okay, I got it. It's a bad thing to hit him, but we prevented an imminent attack. Now you're in the greater good. Abortion debate, even outside of national security affairs. It's never, ever, ever, ever will you ever do an abortion unless your mother's life's hurt. Well, there's categorical imperative. now stepped in the grave good. Torture today. You'll never, ever, ever torture. Never, ever torture. It's just something we don't do. It's categorical imperative. Unless that guy's got a nuclear bomb and we know it and it's going to kill 20 million people in New York, now you've stepped in the greater good. So that dichotomy extends all over, but the law of land warfare is a categorical imperative. There are things you will not do, and I don't care what it is. If I've got a sniper shooting at me from a building and there's an orphanage in front of me and I can't get to the sniper because of the orphanage, I can't drop the orphanage to get the sniper. There's a categorical imperative. You don't kill civilians. And I got really kind of aggravated about all the discussion going on by people who've never heard shot fired in anger, and so I kind of put that in the book. So Pike's kind of dealing with that throughout the book, where he wants to be the white hat, he doesn't want to be the black hat, he doesn't want to become what they are, but he really wants to become what they are. He wants to kill them. And so it kind of threads to the book. It happened organically. I didn't really set out to make a statement. By the time I was done, I was like, boy, something really seeped out of your head.
I mean, I think it makes it interesting that there's an ethical dilemma.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to know how to, we can say it's not murder if it's self-defense, but then you have to define what's
Right.
self-defense, and
Exactly.
it goes on all the time.
And Jennifer knows that he says, he says, I just want you to help me capture this first guy at the very beginning of the book. Just capture this first guy. And then what are you going to do? Don't ask me any question. Which is basically he thinks he's going to kill him. And she's not going to let that happen. She's like, woohoo, no, wait a minute. I'm not going to set somebody up for you to murder.
Right.
I understand we need the information, but I'm not going to murder that. So, and that kind of threads to the book. It gets worse and worse.
I'm sure you can hardly all wait to read it now, especially hotel room scenes, right? All right, so the key characters, no surprise, survive, and what is going to happen to them? And then you're moving on to a new book.
The next book I'm writing now?
I just like to leave people with the idea that you're going to write another book. So
Yeah, well, we just got back from Taiwan and Australia, and so the next book is going to involve China, and we just did all the research there. I'm writing it right now.
Did you escape you were there before the fires?
Yeah, we were. It's horrible. In fact, we were just contacting people we met there. That place is getting ravaged. But yeah, we were all over the area where the fires are, cons and everywhere else, all around there. There was no fires when we were there. It was gorgeous. It was just getting spring to summer for them, so it was in October, so it was
I think it's hot in Phoenix. Did you see how hot it was in some of the area where that fire? I just could hardly believe it. Yeah. Well, I think at this point we should probably say we're open for questions. So who would like to kick it off? And here comes young Patrick King, who is going, in fact, to let me say goodbye to our video audience and thank them very much for joining us.
We on video?
This evening.
Cancel that.